Hi everyone, I'm just currently sat in my car because the house is full and I'm sat outside my house in my car. Um, so if you're wondering why I'm here in my car, there you go. Um, so basically this video is just going to be discussing about what actually happens with the baby in your first month, because in my other video when I was talking about newborns, what to expect, was more about the mother. And in this video I'm going to be talking about what to expect with the baby. So when you first have your baby, they will either do skin to skin, or you can ask obviously for the baby to be wrapped up. It's up to you, but with all three of my children I've done skin to skin straight away. And I would highly recommend it because the bond that you create is unbelievable. And the love that you feel, it's euphoric. But with my eldest daughter Shauna, I had her via water birth, and she was born after, I think it was, so I went into labour about 6 o'clock Monday the 4th, and I had her at 6:43 the next day, so I was in labour for like a day. When she come out, she was in the water and I was just like, whoa, in awe of her. And they're already looking around, and like she had her eyes open under the water, and they brought her up and we did skin to skin. And in that first 10 minutes I was already feeding her, because I breastfed, and she was suckling away straight away, rooting. As soon as she come out she was rooting. I'd say in that first 24 hours they they definitely need to feed every 2 to 3 hours, because they're getting all the colostrum. Is it called colostrum? Basically that's just like the first bit of milk that's like the most important. It's got all the nutrients in it, like it's all important obviously. And if they're doing bottle fed, they have to be fed every 2 to 3 hours as well. But yeah, they only have like a stomach the size of a 2p, like that big, so they can't eat a lot, and you don't feel like they're getting a lot, but trust me, they're getting enough. Like they'll just be suckling away and feeding as and when like they know that they need to. But some babies don't. Some babies you need to prompt them to get up and have a feed. But all three of mine have all been greedy and all fed like within 2 to 3 hours. And in that first day, they're just all a wonder. Like they come out and they've already got their eyes open, looking around. It's insane how quick they adjust. Um, so obviously, I had Shauna when I was young, and like it was a natural delivery via water birth. And then when I had Leighton via emergency C-section, that was a bit different in the sense that when he come out he had to be checked over first, and then when he was placed on me, I was cut open, so I couldn't just hold him like I did Shauna. And then with Autumn, she was quite a small baby, so they had to check her because I was 40 weeks and 4 days, and they had to check. That's just her opening her eyes, waking up. They had to check that she was alright, so they said that she might have to go to the NICU ward, but they rang up and she didn't need to. So that your first day is just basically your baby feeding and you just being obsessed and staring at them. And then the second day, they're more alert with the hands, and they're moving around a lot more, and they've obviously had their first poo on the first day, which is normally a bit green, so don't worry if it is. And then if they're breastfed, they move their bowels a lot. But if they're not like moving their bowels as much as you think they are, just tell the nurse if you're still at the hospital. Because bottle fed babies don't tend to poo as much as breastfed babies. But if they need a bit of help, you can try baby massage, which is just doing half moons anti-clockwise. Is it anti-clockwise? Yeah, anti-clockwise on the belly, because their large intestine is right up here, like right up underneath their breastbone, and you just need to push it down just so that it like feeds the milk down through to the small intestines to get it out. And you can try cycling legs, which is pushing their legs up and down gently. And that's what I still do with Autumn, and she's 4 months old, because she was pooing like every 3 to 4 days, and then just recently she was pooing like 2 to 3 poos a day, but just recently she stopped. But the health visitor said that's because she's absorbing all of the milk because she's growing, so sometimes they don't poo as much, so it's nothing to worry about. But yeah, on your second day they're a lot more alert, and if you've had normal delivery, you might be able to walk about. I did on my second day, but everyone's different, like you might not. But the baby is just like wanting to feed more, is just unbelievably like loving, like they just want to be on you all the time, which is lovely, skin to skin contact. And on the third day, like they're looking about more, and you can tell that their vision, not that their vision's getting better, but it's not just as blur as it was the first 2 to 3 days, first 1 to 2 days, sorry. And then on the fourth day, like, and you're starting to feel like you can sort of maneuver yourself about if you've not had a C-section. If you've had a C-section, you will be sore still, and probably not even had a shower yet. Because when I had an emergency C-section, I didn't have a shower for about a week. But then when I had a normal C-section planned, I had one after about 3 days. Just depends on what your delivery was like and whether or not it was emergency. But yeah, your fifth day is just like your baby's all a wonder, and they're getting to know you more. They're starting to get into a routine of getting up every 2 to 3 hours, and you're feeling like you understand as and when what a sort of a cry means, because they can have a cry different to when they need a burp, to when they need a feed, to when they've got trapped wind, like all three. But you'll learn them as you go along, like you'll hear the different cries. And then obviously you're written into your second week then, and week 2 you'll be amazed at how much they know already. Like they can hear like happy songs and like lullabies, and they'll feel soothed by it, and they'll be thinking in their, like, I think that they'll be thinking in their heads that like they're content where they are. And it was like when we went to a shop when Autumn was only about a week and 3 days old. There was somebody arguing with a cashier at the till, and she was fine up until we got to the till, and honestly she just got so sad, like crying, and I just had to go out of the shop and not even buy what I was buying, because I just thought, God, this is just upsetting her too much. But they definitely are aware of everything, and they take on everything. Like they say, the first 1001 days of your baby's life are the most important, and that is when they take on the most. And like it is so true, because at 2 weeks old she could feel the vibes of an argument in a shop, and I'm not just saying that, like I could tell. And then like when we got out and I'd fed her and she'd been with me, and like obviously she'd calmed down, and she was in a setting of like calm and peace, she was completely fine then. And then like in the fourth week they start sort of smiling and knowing who you are, and like they understand when you're in the room, because when you're in the room they're content and they can hear you. And even if you're just moving about and putting stuff in the bins like in the kitchen, and they can still hear movement and your voice talking, that they love that. And I would always say to keep the house not a silent house when you've got a newborn, because if you do that, when they get older, they'll expect the house to be silent. When, well, not expect, but they'll think, this is just in my opinion because this is what has happened. With Shauna, I was like, shh, shh, all the time, like, everyone be quiet because she'll wake up, walking on eggshells when she was younger. And then every time that she was older and she heard something, she would just jump out of bed and be like, oh, you know, what was that? And then I learned, like, when I had Leighton, to start making noises so that they adjusted to it, because it was always going to be a busy house, because there's always more than one child after your first, isn't there? So they adjust to that. So I deliberately now leave Autumn's bedroom door open and have like the hallway light on so that she knows that we're like close to her. And I mean my bedroom door for now, because obviously up until they're 6 months old, you have them in the room because they can potentially shut down from being on their own, not hearing your voice and not hearing. This is what a health visitor's told me, by the way. This is health visitors' information. Oh, what's the word? Advice. Don't put them in their room on their own until they're after 6 months, because they can just shut down and potentially die if they're left on their own, because they're not getting that stimulation or that love. So keep them in your room. Keep them knowing that you're around the room, and in the house. And I always touch Autumn's face every now and again just to make sure she's all right when she's asleep. But obviously when she's awake, she's downstairs and she's playing. So in that, and then in your 4th week, like, you cannot believe how far they've come, or how different their faces are, because they go from like a little scrunched up granddad face, don't they, to filling out and being like their own little self. And it's so incredible to watch. Like, when I think about it, I could cry, because it's insane how quickly they grow. Like, I can't believe that Autumn's 15 weeks. Like, it's just like, whoa, it just goes so quick. Like, treasure every moment, honestly, because I'm 3 kids in now, and honestly, I cannot believe that my eldest is 15. It's just flown by. And I look at Autumn and I'm like, God, Shauna was that big like a day ago. Like, everything just moves so fastly. And make sure you take so many pictures in their first month, because I take a picture every day, and then I've got like a folder on my phone, and it's just like, it's a screenshot of how different she looks. And like, you can speed it up and just see, you know, how quick the change is. And it just, enjoy your babies, because honestly, it's the best timing. I know everybody says it, and some people get really bad baby blues and that, but make sure that you tell people if you're feeling that way, because you need to just see life for what it is. Like, you've made a little person, and you get to enjoy that little person for the rest of your life, you know. And in that first month, you will just appreciate like how amazing this little miracle is, because you won't be able to believe that, like, they're looking at you and smiling at you. And people say it's wind because they're too young and that, but honestly, I think that babies know a damn sight more than people give them credit for. But yeah, in that first month, the baby will just go through not knowing, knowing who you are so much more than you would understand. Because I remember holding Autumn, Leighton and Shauna when they were babies, and just feeling that contentness, like, it's out of this world. And I would say, make sure that, like, in every situation you involved the older children. And like with my partner, I always say, oh, like, we're having a bath now, and he gets the bath and he puts her in it, because I breastfeed. It's very much letting them do the other things. So I breastfeed, and then Sai will do the burp, the winding, and he will do the changing through the night, just to make sure that, like, you're getting a rest as well. Because when you're breastfeeding, you're constantly, like, obviously being used of all your resources. So you've got to make sure you're well hydrated, you're well fed, because you won't have the energy for anything else otherwise. But yeah, just making sure your partner does the other bits, like changing the bum, winding them, changing their clothes, doing their baths and things like that, because all their moments are precious. And obviously 9 times out of 10 the dad goes back to work after 2 weeks, and they miss all that. So just make sure you just treasure all them moments with your partner and all them moments with your older kids. And in them first 4 weeks, make sure you take time to say you're not having visitors if you can't have them. Like, people should be coming to help you. You should be feeling like if a visitor's coming round, that they're coming with either some dinner or some nappies if you need it. Not for you to be entertaining them and feeding them. That's not the way it is in the first 4 weeks. And if you're breastfeeding, you need them first 4 weeks where you're just in bed with your baby, absorbing all that bond creating time. And obviously you're going to be getting up every now and again, but you need to allow yourself that rest. You can't just snap straight back into doing what you were doing before, because you'll just burn out, and it's so hard to come back from that, because once you've burnt out, it takes like 2 weeks to get back to where you feel like you get, well, it can be longer with some people, where you feel like you can get into a routine of not feeling constantly exhausted. So don't people please and just be like, yeah, you can come round if you can't physically take it yourself. And in them first 4 weeks, make sure that you're just in bed and like got your baby, you know, with you, and people can come in the room and see you, but you've got to allow yourself that time to just be in them first 4 weeks completely relaxed and just taking in all the time you can to just refuel yourself of sleep and nutrition. And just make sure that I used to get up and constantly eat Weetabix with honey. I didn't even want it half the time, but I needed to eat it to make sure that I had milk for baby. And I used to constantly have just the cheap bottles of water at the side of my bed. It don't matter if it's tap water. I just bought the big bottles of water so that I constantly knew that even if I'd have forgot to get a fresh water that night, I had one at the side of my bed. Because your baby will just be constantly needing that nutrition from you. Like plenty of veg. Like I used to just constantly whip veg up in a blender and then put stock cube in and boil it and just eat it like soup constantly in the first 4 weeks, because you're so tired and drained of your resources. Like, your baby is just always going to need you to be on your best that you can be. Obviously you're going to have takeaways and stuff like that, like everybody does, we're not insane, but and especially in this COVID period, you just got to make sure you're getting all your vitamins. I take Pregnacare, but any pregnancy tablets will do. But yeah, your baby in them first 4 weeks will just blow you away. I hope you like this video. I'm going to have to go because she's due a feed and I can feel her wriggling. She's going to start crying. But thank you very much for watching.